I want to spend a little bit of time on sequencing your story. Sequencing is important for two reasons. The first is that if you sequence things out of order, you may not end your story at the high arousal emotion piece that inspires people to take action. For example, have you ever watched a movie where halfway into the movie, there's this incredible scene, there's amazing action, there's amazing character development, and it almost feels like the climax, but then the movie drags on for another hour afterwards. Oftentimes when we see this, we're then disappointed leaving the cinema thinking, well, why was the end so bad in comparison to the middle? We're almost disappointed by the what should have been the emotional climax by the ending. We're less likely to recommend that to a friend. We're more likely to walk away not remembering the controlling idea, the central idea, but just how that last hour dragged out. You don't want to do that with your business idea, with your business story. You want to get to that high arousal point at the end. So once you finish telling your story, that somebody is excited, they're enthusiastic, they're inspired, they're going to take action. The second reason is that if it's not sequenced, where you have a natural progression, a natural flow of cause and effect of the actions and the results that happen. First, there was a world that this was happening, so I took this action. But there was this pushback. Therefore, I built this. I made this product. I built this business. It's a natural progression of things. If you just start randomly shoving in things, people are going to get bored. It's this idea of just going, and then, and then, and then. It's like when you're watching a TV show and they just randomly like throw in like a dead character comes back to life. Or if you're watching a movie and all of a sudden there's just a random explosion because an action scene needed to happen. It feels like they're kind of writing it as they go along, that they haven't really fully thought out the ideas and the concepts and the flow of things. They're trying to add in stuff just to keep your attention. It would be like me explaining a business where it's like, I did this, and then 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 I did this. People will tune out after a while. It doesn't feel like it's cohesive. It just feels like you're giving us a list of actions rather than an actual story. People will tune out. They will stop listening to you if you're just adding in stuff for the sake of adding in stuff or not connecting things the way they should. But avoid this, avoid thinking about this. So when I say, and then, if you find yourself like writing out your first ideas for your story and you're saying, and then this, and then this, try to figure out a way of like crafting it all together. One thing that you'll find from this is like, as you're crafting your story, you may come across things where actually it doesn't fit in with the rest of the story. It doesn't fit in as like a cause and effect item. It doesn't relate to the other things that you're trying to say in your story. That's a great way of editing then. You can pull that information out because it's not relevant to the rest of the story. Hey, that's what editors do in movies. They remove scenes that aren't relevant to the greater picture. There's always cut scenes. There's always director's cuts that add in additional material. Oftentimes that stuff is removed because while it may be important to the teller of the story, it's not important to the audience and for them to get the central story, the central message. So keep on thinking about but, therefore, so. It's the actions that it's a continuing journey. It's going to want people to know what's the next step. What was the reaction to something? What was the output of something that happened previously? That's going to keep people intrigued. In fact, actually, I know I've mentioned Pixar's rules of storytelling multiple times, but they even have a great way of summing up a story. Once upon a time, there was blank. Every day, blank. One day, blank. Because of that, blank. Finally, because of that, blank. Until finally, blank. You can plug this kind of methodology, this sequencing, into your business story. Once upon a time, there was people who used to carry around a disc player and a bag full of CDs. Every day they would have to pack their bag thinking about what music they wanted to listen to. One day, a great man named Steve Jobs came up with the idea of 1,000 songs in your pocket. Because of that, our people want to realize that they didn't have to carry around CDs anymore. Because of that, they felt inspired to dump their Discman until finally they bought that iPod. As you can probably tell, that's not what Steve Jobs was thinking. I was kind of making that up on the fly, but it's a great way of sequencing a story. It's a great way of easily planting your story into a framework that makes sure that you yourself haven't added in irrelevant information, and then you have the right sequencing to get people to a high arousal emotion for them to take action. Anything that doesn't serve that story, take it out, edit it out. If it's just an add-on, if it's an additional piece of information that isn't relevant to the core story, remove it. If you're in an investment pitch, remove it. They may ask you about it. Leave it in your back pocket. If you're in a marketing pitch, leave it in your back pocket. Maybe something else that you can use. The other thing is that every piece of information that you leave in there will be so tight and so focused that you know that the central controlling idea that you're trying to get across will be put across clearly and concisely.